p.m. and New Year's Day, we will be closed all day.
Thank you for calling Naples Apothecary, located at 129 South Main Street, Naples, New York. We are currently closed, but still accepting refill requests. If you are calling to refill a prescription and you know your prescription number, press 1. If you are physician's office, press 2. For our pharmacy hours location,
Hi, I just wanted to let you know that Naples Apothecary, the automated message says they're they're closed. They're closed. They're closed all day New Year's Day.
Alright, well, they'll be open first thing tomorrow. You didn't take your medicine today anyway, so.
I took my 60 milligrams.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, because you already took it, you wouldn't take it now anyway, so.
Right.
Alright, well, I got work in the morning.
No, I know. They closed yesterday at 4 o'clock on New Year's Eve, so
Heard you, okay? Listen, I gotta work tomorrow,
I know you do.
so if you want to remind me, I'll go and get it for you. Alright?
All right. Thank you.
I'll take a little break from work and I'll run down there in the morning. Before you take your meds, you remind me.
Okay.
Alright.
I think I try to communicate with you and I just get easily frustrated or something.
Gosh, you're awful hard to hear.
I think, okay, hold on. I'm off speaker, so maybe I just get really frustrated with you or something. I'm not sure. Okay, I just get very frustrated, sometimes. Okay. 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 Alright, bye. Shuckles! Fuckles, oh Fuckles, here comes the Huckles. Oh Fuckles, here comes Knuckles. Or like, oh Fuckles, here comes my cat Huckles. Huckles. I did a separate save for the other option because I don't know if there's a different outcome for making the girl work 2 more weeks. People who leave the city limits never return. Oh, so there's only one little city and just endless wilderness and nothing livable outside of this city? Aglaya. The artwork is really nice for this VN. There's so many visual novels that will have a good story, but they're indie and have such ugly artwork. It's really nice though when someone does really good backgrounds or really good anime characters for their visual novels. And I tried to be open-minded, even though I'm not really a furry. I have furry friends. I tried to be open-minded about furry visual novels like Grok the Investigator, the cop alligator guy, but I can't like furry VNs. I just don't like them. The more anime feeling the visual novel is, the more I like it, and the more human the characters, the more I like it. I kind of like the VNs where the characters feel like people, not something too far exaggerated. So for me, furry stuff doesn't really resonate with me. Once in a rare while, I mean, I've seen Beastars, but I'm not a big fan of anthro stuff. I like it in moderation. If it was like the PS2 days of like Sly Cooper or something, I didn't hate it. Or if it was like in childhood when I watched like the Disney Robin Hood movie with the fox Robin Hood, it wasn't bad, but I kind of prefer the animation that focuses on humanity. Or the animals are just regular four-legged animals and the humans are just humans. I don't really hate anthro stuff, but I think it's been oversaturized. For the same reason that the moe shit in anime has been oversaturized. Moe isn't always bad. If it's done in the way that K-On! Does it or Azumanga Daioh does it, I don't hate it. But there's a certain... I'm not even sure how to describe it, but there's like a certain annoyance I have with certain gimmicky anime that only focuses on just the bare minimum of what otakus watch. I'm not saying that every single anime has to be like Darker Than Black or like Serial Experiments Lane, or it has to be like Ergo Proxy, but what I am saying is that one, there's lots of slice of life anime, whether they're the fun ones. If it's something more along the lines of focusing on instruments and talent like K-On!, or if it's more like Lucky Star jokes where it's anime references, or if it's more like Watamote where it has the right kind of otaku humor. But when it comes to certain anime, I couldn't get into things like Love Live School Idol Project. I can't get into the really just sparkly Kira sparkly poo anime. The stuff where it's like the characters don't even really act like regular human beings. They just seem kinda of absolute cute perfection or of just immaculate beauty perfection defined, and they're not ugly enough or flawed enough. I do like things such as, for one example, I like anime such as, you know, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. I just like the characters just behave like realistic Japanese people. If the anime that takes place in Japan or the States or UK or wherever it takes place, if the humans act like humans, I like the anime. But if the anime is just, you know, if the characters are just flawless perfection of cuteness, but they're boring cute and they're not interesting or endearing, they're just kind of stupid, annoying characters. If they're just moe characters that don't really have any kind of intrigue or any kind of personality or any kind of human behavior, I find it boring. So I guess that's why I couldn't watch things like Love Live, School Idol Project. I mean, I tried. I tried to watch things like, I tried to watch Idolmaster. I don't really like the pop idol industry in Japan. If this slice of life anime with the moe characters is more along the lines of Azumanga Daioh, Nichijou, or the series City, the animation, and City, the manga. City is great. Most of the characters are in their 20s and 30s, but they behave so very much the way most Japanese Gen Y or millennials in Japan behave, and Gen Z, and the Gen Alpha kids, and the teens and the kids that are Gen Alpha. They're so real. I don't like anime where the characters are just mindlessly cute, but they don't do anything else. And I know people complain that One Piece has an ugly art style, so on and so forth. Despite, you know, I don't think the art style for One Piece is ugly, and I like the storytelling of One Piece. I like the storytelling for things such as Hunter x Hunter and JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but, you know, I don't think anime characters always have to be perfect looking in order to be likable. That isn't to say you have to make the ugliest anime characters possible, but I kind of just am okay with the plain Jane anime characters. Like the Studio Ghibli female characters, where they're not ugly, but they're not, like, insanely hot looking either. Insanely gorgeous looking, you know what I mean? Like, you know, your dirt average characters that act like human beings. That's kind of why I like to Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. It was 3 girls starting an animation club, an anime club, but there was already an anime club, but they animated their own anime. But they explain realistically in the show the process of how making an anime works. And there's some interesting information that goes with it. Or things like Comic Party. You see a bunch of college and high school students joining together to make a manga. It's an interesting dynamic. Or there's certain anime where there's people in a gaming club. You know. So, that isn't to say... That is not to say that I have a hatred for all cutesy, sparkly anime. I like Sailor Moon, and I was okay with Smile Precure, like the early 90s series. You know, Stuff like Jewel Pets, pretty boring. Stuff like Glitter Force, pretty boring. The English dub is funny, although the Japanese audio certainly sounds more normal. The English dub is about 4 kids terrible. I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's extremely bad. Like, there's a guy that's like a black guy dressed up as a clown, and he has a like a brick house monster that attacks the main pink-haired girl from Glitter Force. And the girl's like, oh no, we're being attacked by a giant brick house. And the black guy clown is like, yeah, he's a brick house. He's mighty, mighty. And I'm just like, really? And what kid or teenager watching that anime would know the brick house? Freaking 70s. So, never mind. But to me, it's weird. It's just weird as hell. I'm elaborating on anime I like or dislike. I think what it is that people who hate the slice of life anime genre, what it is they were shown the worst of the worst slice of life. They were shown the stuff that was just, I hope senpai notices me kind of slice of life. To them it was, what they saw was very generic romance, but nothing of dynamic or depth or nothing of great storytelling. And I think certain people I know have a huge hatred for slice of life anime and only prefer shonen. And I think the reason why is just because the slice of life anime they were recommended, none of it was ever funny or entertaining or had any kind of really good storytelling. And when I would recommend things like City, the animation, or when I recommended things like the Yotsuba manga, or when I would tell people to read Goodnight Pon Pon or Oyasumi Pon Pon, people thought what I was suggesting to them was just a boring romance story. And it's like, romance is only like a tiny portion of the stories of some slice of life anime, but a lot of anime, it's more or less they tell a dynamic story that may or may not have two characters that are affectionate for one another in secrecy, that have secret, crushes on each other, a secret connection. But even so, I've known so many people that hate the Fruits Basket anime because years and years ago they saw the really bad, 2006 direct-to-DVD, really botched Fruits Basket anime. But I was reading the manga at the time. I had bought a shit ton of the manga at either FYE, back when there was more people going to FYE, when more people wanted to go to the mall and, Walmart. But so many people thought Fruits Basket was horrible because they saw the anime, and it's like the 2006 anime was super fucking terrible. But the manga was actually fantastic. And I'm glad there's a reboot, actually, of the Fruits Basket anime that is more manga accurate on Crunchyroll or on free anime sites, because the original 2006 series, nothing fucking happened. I watched that show with my friends, and it was terrible. It was 24 episodes of just a nothing burger. It was some funny conflict between Kyo and Yuki. Akito's identity was not really revealed enough. There wasn't enough of a backstory on Shigure or Hatsuharu or Hitoru or Rin or I'm trying to think of the guy that was cursed with the Year of the Lamb form. I'm trying to think of his name. Well, there was also Kisame, I think was her name, the girl that was Kisa. She was the girl that was the tiger. I hated that and Momiji's backstory is extremely important. Like, everybody just glosses over Fruits Basket because they saw the shitty 2006 direct-to-DVD version that was just ass, and they didn't read the entire manga online or the books in person. They didn't actually understand the true story. The remake is thankfully a lot better. And, you know, the thing about... One thing I also think is a bit strange, and that isn't to say I hate this series, but I would say this series is a little bit overrated, but overrated doesn't really mean bad. But when everybody kind of obsesses over how great Neon Genesis Evangelion was, I don't hate Neon Genesis Evangelion, but I hate the hype it caused. And the reason why is that Neon Genesis Evangelion was misinterpreted. People thought, oh, this anime is really deep, and it's like, it's really not. And even Hideaki Anno said it wasn't deep. The anime isn't deep, rather it just shows trauma and depression in teenage kids realistically. It's like, yeah, when I was a traumatized, depressed 14 and 15-year-old, I related very well to Shinji. I hated Shinji for being a pussy, but then I realized that is how I was, though, when I was 14 and 15. It shows trauma in kids realistically, as did Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. But again, is Evangelion a really good battle mech anime? Not exactly. I mean, the Eva units are designed in a very interesting way. I would say the Mobile Suit Gundam main storyline, and even some of the spin-off Gundam anime shows, such as Gundam Wing and G Gundam, were great. And Tekken Toppa Gurren Lagann was great, and I think Razefan was great. Just what bothers me is that Evangelion is not the only mecha anime, though, to show traumatized teenagers in mecha trying to save humanity, you know, with a giant, powerful, giant robot trying to save all of humanity from these evil alien creatures called the Angels that are like kaiju that are destroying, you know, the planet and gonna kill off all of humanity, is the thing. There are so many Gundam anime series, be it the main Mobile Suit Gundam timeline or other, you know, anime from the Sunrise Company that are in correlation somewhat with the main timeline, but are a spin-off. Mobile Suit Gundam V, or Mobile Suit Gundam 5, even though lots of people hate Haro. I don't hate Haro. I think that series was fantastic. There are so many science fiction anime, not just the mecha genre itself. Many cyberpunk anime, I should say. Even some magical girl anime like Arjuna. Arjuna was very dark. There are so many magical girl anime that show dark themes, not just Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. There are so many other magical girl anime that show trauma and sadness and struggle and suffering, not just Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. And for that matter, when it comes to Evangelion, it's the same problem. People think this is probably the only mecha anime that did this, but it's like, no, actually, Gundam Wing did stuff like that well before Evangelion did. There was Mobile Suit Gundam shows of the 80s that did stuff like that ages before Evangelion even existed. And, you know, I have no hatred for Evangelion, but I do hate that I do hate the obsession some people have had over it, however. I hate that it's often talked about like it's the greatest thing ever. I just didn't think Evangelion was that good. For the same reason that I didn't hate the series, but I didn't think Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica was that good. I mean, it wasn't Cardcaptor Sakura good, it wasn't Arjuna good, it wasn't Precure good, it was just okay. It was short and it was okay. And then there was 5 films that were the same footage of the first 13 episodes of that very short series with different alternate endings. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine, but it didn't do that much for me. The manga was fine for Mahoushoujo Madoka Magica, but it's not my favorite girly magical girl anime. I mean, anime for girls in general. I really like Chobits, for example. I really like, you know, I mean, people sleep on Cardcaptor Sakura. That is a great freaking series, and it's very intelligent, and it's darker than you would realize. And the same can be said for Sailor Moon. And they are kids shows, but they reach a depth that I don't think Mahoushoujo Madoka Magica really reached. Mahoushoujo Madoka Magica simply showed some shocking imagery. Like, spoiler alert, when in episode 3, Mame Tomoe's head gets bitten off by the Sweets Witch, which is like, okay, that's fine, but it's just a little bit of gore. But it's like, okay, but Arjuna had tons of gore. In episode 1, Arjuna, you know, comes in contact with this man that's paralyzed in a wheelchair, and he gives her a vision in her mind, because the guy's psychic, the guy in the wheelchair. He puts a vision in Arjuna's mind that everyone in the future won't have livestock or any fruits or vegetables or any crops or any meat of any kind. So humans have to harvest fetuses and make them into burgers or food, and humans can only eat unborn, aborted fetuses for food. Because there's no food to eat, like, you know, 50 years from now, because there's no running water, there's no electricity, there's no soil. So, like, there's the whole planet of Earth is just a barren wasteland desert because it's polluted and nuked with bombs to the point where the planet's practically unlivable and everybody just wears hazmat suits and gas masks because there's so much radiation in the air that nobody can survive because everybody nuked each other. It's fucked up, but I mean, it's a apocalyptic probability of an outcome that could have happened to humanity. So again, I mean, Arjuna's really fucking dark because Arjuna gets all these dark visions of what if scenarios of if I don't defeat these evil demonic entities, they're gonna corrupt humanity, and then the outcome that I see in this vision that I got from the man in the wheelchair that sends me the visions, they're gonna happen. It's fucked up, but that's the series, but it's great for that. It's kind of fascinating. It's psychological horror magical girl. Arjuna has an amazing depth, like, of any I've ever seen. Serial Experiments Lane also, and people sleep on Lane. People sleep on Serial Experiments Lane. People sleep on Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex and the second gig. People really sleep on, Appleseed. People really sleep on the Battle Angel Alita manga. The OVAs are pretty disappointing. They're too short, and the Spielberg films are only 2 films that cover the 2 OVAs, and they're just short 50-minute mini movies. But I mean, the 68-ish, well, more like 66 volumes of the original Battle Angel Alita manga. If you have a manga reading app, or you go to any manga reading websites that give you free manga, or you buy ebooks, or you go to any library thing that borrows books, or you have any kind of e-reader like Eldico to download PDFs of ebooks, ebook files that are PDFs like of manga, I am not even joking. Read the entire Battle Angel Alita manga and then read Last Order, because Last Order, Battle Angel Alita, the manga Last Order after the main story, freaking incredible. It's a long manga, but it's really worth it. And I would love it if somebody actually took the entire manga and made a more manga-accurate Battle Angel Alita. And I'm sure Berserk fans feel the same way, because a more manga-accurate Berserk would be way better. And there is rumors that a newer Berserk series that's following the manga better is coming into the works. The only thing that's ever properly followed the Berserk manga was maybe that one Berserk Sega Dreamcast game. And that bad CGI 3D series they put on Crunchyroll, but it was very indie, and the CG was very crudely made. It was, you could tell it was very rushed, wonky. It was like the walking animations were off, the movement of the clothing and hair was off. It was bad. And I mean, I'm no expert on 3D animation, obviously, but you know, you could tell, like, if even an underground indie animation that's 3D, like Kemono Friends, is, you know, animated better than the 3D Berserk series is, that's a problem. You know, even if GD Fairies, which is like a, you know, a parody of all the Sega games represented by some funny fairies with mushrooms on their heads, even if that underground, you know, indie made thing is less botched than CG Berserk on Crunchyroll was, that's a problem. I mean, if even Gary's Mod looking videos have more stability in animation than, say, 3D animated Berserk was on Crunchyroll, as people have done video comparisons of, you have a problem. If your CG is so bad that even some, you know, goofy, snot-nosed Gen Alpha kid or teenager with either Source Filmmaker or Gary's Mod on Steam can animate just a few Valve characters, like some TF2 characters, better than, you know, some studio that's doing the CG, you have a problem then. It's laughable because that's not the only example of when CGI has been horribly botched. The Food Fight film, if you've ever watched the Food Fight animated movie, beginning to end on Prime Video or wherever you get movies, wow, that was insanely bad. And I mean, that came out around the same time in 2010 when the Das Bo Shit guy from YouTube was doing Gary's Mod Idiot Box. And I'm not even kidding, like, a Gary's Mod Idiot Box video, a Source Filmmaker fan-made video with some dancing, goofy TF2 characters, or Portal characters, or Half-Life characters, I'm not even kidding. That looks better in comparison than this $6 million budgeted film, Food Fight, and I don't even know what they did with the $6 million, what they use it for, cocaine. Because it's like, you clearly didn't use it for the animation. You know, you got this Christopher Lloyd voiced character that's like some evil professor guy, but he's like walking really strange. The Indiana Jones dog character voiced by Charlie Sheen is animated very poorly. The girl with the Keebler elf lines on her cheeks and the cat ears, I don't know, she's like his girlfriend, a human girlfriend with cat ears, that they can't even have proper eye contact or talk properly, or their mouths don't move to the words properly, the hands and feet motions don't work, the arms and legs motions, the hair and neck, head motions, the facial expressions, nothing worked in that movie. And poor Wayne Brady, you know, he's a great comedian. Why'd he voice that goofy squirrel character? I don't know. I just, wow. You want to see a really bad film? I mean, really badly animated 3D film. My goodness, Food Fight is a mess. And Ratatouille, which was like some direct-to-DVD, I'm not even sure what it was, a B-movie that was ripping off of the Ratatouille title. Obviously, Ratatouille was bad, too. There are some really terrible B-movie animations included with Prime. Those happen to be the top two. That or that weird Christmas movie that looked like it had polygonal N64 graphics, even though it was made in, like, 2012. That was nightmarish, too. Whatever the heck that was. My gosh. My goodness. It's a funny thing, and even Nostalgia Critic pointed it out, that, like, no matter how botched your hand-drawn animation looks or your 2D animation looks, no matter how botched Flash animation looks for 2D, I'm not even kidding, for 2D Flash animation, like the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic animation errors, it's still nowhere near as bad as the botched errors you see from people doing really botched CGI. Because if you mess up CGI, you know, if there's like really unstable, jittery, glitched, or abnormal animation errors with CGI, it's really noticeable. If you accidentally draw a line of maybe the hair shape or clothing shape or the eye shape of a certain character, anime or cartoon, slightly incorrectly, it's not as noticeable. If you mess up a hand-drawn drawing of 2D animation, it's not as noticeable, but also expressive faces are better to illustrate. With like the Wacom tablet, 2D animation softwares, or, pencil to paper, the old analog way, even the rotoscope way. Even as botched as some rotoscope used to be, it still looks better in comparison than the animation errors you would see in CGI. And obviously, I don't need to elaborate on how bad AI-generated animation looks. I mean, AI-generated animation is... there's no regulation or moderation or any kind of, stability or anyone stabilizing, the fluidity of the motion of the animation, of course, because it's just a person typing some nonsense into a keyboard, and then the ChatGPT or whatever the heck it is, what was that shitty one? Sora? It just generates, a shitty, imagery and animation of some nonsense, obviously, but and CGI can be beautiful, because there was a lot of beautiful CGI in things like Fantasia 2000, like the beautiful musical scene with the whales that were swimming up the ocean. Then they flew up into the sky. Then they jump out of an ocean of stars and sort of like a Milky Way galaxy. That was cool as shit. And there is CGI that is breathtakingly beautiful, and Pixar is certainly and Pixar is most certainly no thing to ignore, or when Disney used to be compassionate about CG and hand-drawn animation. And there are films that combine both. There's Treasure Planet and Beauty and the Beast, and, there's things like, Tarzan, and there was CGI for all the vines that Tarzan glided across, the tree vines, or the tree roots and the vines he grips on with his hands and swings across like a swinging rope. There is a way to combine CG and 2D animation, and Don Bluth's Anastasia is another example. There was 3D animation meshed into the 2D animation for the Anastasia film, and both work beautifully in a great medley of just gorgeous, appearance. Think of it this way. In the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, and early 2000s PC era, we started witnessing, a more breathtaking set of visuals, I should say, for video games. Because we saw 2D cel-shaded CGI. Things like the artwork of Okami, the artwork of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Beautiful Joe 1 and 2, whether you played those on PS2 or GameCube, Jet Set Radio for Xbox. That was gorgeous. And that was beautiful because, again, that was two things combined into one thing, and that was great. Once in a while on the PS1, you'd see some old 2D animated things, in certain cutscenes, I would say, of a game, and then it would go back to the polygonal or the pixelated look. But, think of it this way. Think of the animated cutscenes of Wild Arms. Absolutely gorgeous on PS1. Or even the cutscenes of Final Fantasies 7, 8, 9. Beautiful CGI, like for those long cutscenes. But unfortunately, those graphics could not be used for the vast majority of the whole game, just those very short few minute segments. But it was beautiful when you saw it. Especially 8 and 9. The animated cutscenes, especially for Final Fantasy 8 and 9 on PS1, abso-freaking-lutely gorgeous. And the audio quality wasn't necessarily terrible for that time of the 1990s. For the MIDI files that were on the PS1 discs, beautiful stuff. Even Digimon and Monster Rancher, they had gorgeous, little CG cutscenes. And it was impressive, considering there was only so much you could write onto those discs for PS1. Obviously, the PS1 discs had more disk space than the N64 cartridges did, and of course, PC CD-ROMs could hold more disk space than PS1 discs could, I think, by comparison. But again, I mean, give or take, CGI was experimental in the 90s, but the few times people worked very hard at it, it was beautiful. Pixar and DreamWorks did so much wonderful hard work with their animations. And it's kind of a shame that DreamWorks wants to be CGI only. And they don't want to go back to 2D animation just because Road to El Dorado was gorgeous, the Sinbad movie was gorgeous, and Prince of Egypt also was just really breathtaking, and it's sad that DreamWorks won't go back to 2D animation. They have a side studio that they had like a smaller side studio that was an indie studio, I think, that did the Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beast series and the She-Ra Princesses of Power series, but it wasn't the main DreamWorks company. And DreamWorks is Disney's competitor, and with that in mind, why wouldn't DreamWorks, in retaliation, be like, okay, let's do some 2D animation because we gotta compete with Disney. Because, I mean, I know CG animation can sometimes be slightly, for some people, depending on what you're used to. CGI is a little easier in some capacity than, say, drawing individual frames and then another frame and then another frame and then another frame and drawing millions and millions and millions of frames. You know, having a whole giant studio full of people helping you draw millions and millions and millions of frames of the same characters, the same background and foreground objects. Obviously, not an easy task. But still, despite the difficulties, the payoff is worth it though because you have something beautiful. I will say though, the film from Latvia, Flow, was a gorgeous film. It definitely deserved the Oscar. I just loved every animal in that movie. I mean, the cat, the black cat, the capybara, the lemur, even the bad lemurs that were hassling the nice lemur. I mean, I love how that film lets you just interpret the body language of animals just simply being animals. There wasn't talking. There wasn't any anthropomorphism where you have to human shape the animals and make it into an annoying furry thing. It was just, okay, this is a cat, it just makes cat noises. Here's a capybara, it only makes capybara noises. Here's a lemur, it only does lemur noises. And people were like, look, this film's gonna let you try to interpret the body language and the emotions or some of the expressions that animals have in the most realistic way possible, with some slight cartoonish exaggerations to the faces. And you know what? It worked. And they did it much better than the 3D CG remake of Lion King that just looked kind of dull by comparison. Flow was an amazing film, and I think it's nice that people just appreciate animals as just animals. I don't know why humans have to imprint their humanity onto an animal. It's like, why do you want an animal to be a human? The whole reason I like cats is because they don't act like humans, because I hate most humans. The reason why I like dogs is because they don't act like people. The reason why I like birds or any other creature is because they don't act like people. I can get along with a tarantula better than I can most human beings. If a cat acted like a human being, if cats acted like human beings, then all cats would be assholes. If dogs acted like human beings, then all dogs would be assholes. That's kind of why I can't, like, wrap my head around logically why the furry thing exists. Because furries, on the one hand, they're saying, well, I would rather be an animal than a person. But at the same time, they humanize and human shape the animals, and they make them be bipedal, walk on two legs, have human emotions and human mannerisms and toxic human behaviors, and wear all the kinds of clothing labels and bullshit. I'm not even sure the bullshit, personalities and personas that humans have. I mean, the way I see it, I like when humans just act like humans, and there's a few good humans in the world and a world full of shitty humans, and I like when animals are just animals. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want cats walking on two legs and wearing people clothes, and I don't want dogs doing that either. Because the way I see it, you know, and that's why I could never understand the furry logic, is that they, on the one hand, say, well, I identify that my spirit animal is this, that, or the other animal, yada, 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 but then they anthropomorphize it, so it's like, what's the point, though? You say you identify as a wolf, but you made your wolf a human shape. So you already took the wolfism away from the wolf. You put humanity, or all the toxicity of humanity, onto the animal. So you ruined the animal persona you created for yourself. So what's even the point of your persona, your animal persona? If you're gonna make it like your toxic, shitty human traits, then why even make it? And that's why I never understood the furryism thing. It's like, you hate humans, but you humanize all your animal characters that are your furry characters that you create. It doesn't logically make sense to me. Because the way I see it, I mean, wouldn't it make more sense to just be like, well, you know what? Because you reject humanity, then your best option would be to do what the people who made Flow did, which is just make animal sounds and express emotions in a limited capacity, in only the way animals can, where they're not quite as emotional as human beings are, and have them express themselves in a more realistic light, in the true fashion and the true nature of how an animal is meant to behave. Because if you hate humanity as a furry, but you're also, ironically enough, humanizing your animals, you know, how does that make sense? You reject humanity, yet you're humanizing the animals. That doesn't make sense. You see where I'm getting at with this? It's like, how is it that furries are on the one hand like, well, I rather resonate only with other furries, or my spirit animal, blah, blah, blah. I have to be this anthro, fox, or wolf character that I created and wear a fursuit of it, or my drawing of the creature I made, but I only resonate with other people that want to behave like animals. As a human being, I regret being a human being. I would rather be the animal spirit that I identify as, but at the same time, they humanize all these human traits onto the animal. So that's the thing. I mean, you can hate humanity, but you know, you have to understand that you are still a part of humanity, and you can't reject the humanity inside of yourself, because it's who you are. If I'm a toxic piece of shit, or whatever the hell I am, I mean, I have to accept that. You know what I mean? I can't live in this denial of, well, okay, I'm gonna identify as a cat instead and just anthropomorphize myself as a kitty and just hope for the best, because it's not gonna fix anything. I'm still gonna be that same fucked up human being. Whether I wear cat ears or a cat costume, it doesn't change anything. And I know the furryism is like an anthro cartoon animal roleplay thing, but for me it's like, I can't do that. I mean, you know, animal ears of Kemono Mimi, or animal ears on a human-looking anime character that's still 100% human but just wears cat ears, or a cat tail, or an animal costume. Maybe the way Mario or Princess Peach wear cat costumes, or a tanuki costume for Mario. I can deal with that, but for people to be, like, literally drawing, I guess, a dog or a cat or a wolf or fox or something in the shape of a person, but they want this perfect utopia humanity thing. Like, one of my friends who goes by the Discord name Beowulf, he wanted, like, genetically engineered furry people. He wanted genetically engineered anthro people. He wanted anthropomorphized animals to be a reality. And I think that is like Island of Dr. Moreau type scary shit. I would never want that reality. And it would ruin animals for me. If horses acted like people, I wouldn't like horses anymore. If cats acted like people, I wouldn't like cats anymore. If dogs acted like people, I wouldn't like dogs anymore. Because I vibe with animals when I need to get away from people. That isn't to say that I avoid humanity, you know, all of the time. But that is to say, my social battery drains out pretty quick and I need to step away. And that's kind of why I like Flow. But I hope that more animated films, even live action films, instead of making the animals talk or humanizing them, I think it's nice to just film animals just being themselves. You film animals out in the wild with a camera, they'll make funny, you know, they'll look at the camera and act funny in front of the camera. Monkeys are hilarious in front of a camera. Even tigers and other wild animals in the jungle, they'll see like a webcam hooked up to a laptop or something, or a smartphone cam. They can get pretty funny around the thing and find it fascinating. The true nature of an animal itself is something to enjoy and something to love and be appreciative of. You know, and for that matter, I think it's just nice to just appreciate things as they are. And the other thing too, with the furryism or the anthropomorphism, nobody ever anthropomorphizes insects. Like, there's a lot of beautiful insects. I mean, take for example, like the orchid mantis, or the winged mantis, or the blue emperor butterfly, or ladybugs, or the Luna moth. There's so many beautiful insects, but nobody ever says, well, what if we humanize those? I mean, okay, think of it this way. Other than DreamWorks' Ants, and other than that one Pixar movie, A Bug's Life, how often do you see anthropomorphized insects? Maybe Ant Bully? But again, Ant Bully and the movie Ants, they were made, in a sense, as a sort of a inspiration taken from, I should say, A Bug's Life. But what I liked about A Bug's Life was it wasn't just focusing on the ant colony. There was other bugs. There was the circus bugs, and there was the evil crickets. There was other bugs. But how often would you see a cool movie about an orchid mantis? Or even crustaceans, like the mantis shrimp? You know, why is there no cool animations about the beautiful mantis shrimp? Or all the cool sea slugs that are pretty and colorful, and all the pretty colorful sea snails? How often do you see like a lunar moth movie? Or how often do you see a movie about like a beautiful butterfly that's like a blue sapphire butterfly? Or anything? People always talk about how much they appreciate moths, or how much they appreciate butterflies for how beautiful they are. But nobody ever makes movies about them. Nobody ever anthropomorphizes plants either. People always talk about how they love their house plants or how they love certain trees. You know, why are there no animated films about maybe the anthropomorphization of succulent plants? You know what I mean? Because I mean, it's like anthropomorphizing mammals has been done to death, to death, to death by so many furries, and it's just a weird fantasy thing that has been overdone. If you're gonna anthropomorphize things that haven't been humanized that much. What about like the Silly Symphony film Flowers and Trees? Why don't we anthropomorphize more trees and plants? Cactuses, succulent plants, flowers, blades of grass even. The soil even. Fruits and vegetables. Kinda was done. Sausage Party. But I mean, how about just regular plants? It doesn't have to be the edible, you know, crops that people eat, but what about all the plants that are just nice to look at that people keep in their gardens that are just pleasant? You don't have to see anthropomorphized flowers. You don't often see anthropomorphized trees. Or succulents, or cactuses, or any of the potted plants people keep in their homes, and people love those plants. How often do you see people anthropomorphize books? I mean, once that was done in the Pagemaster film with Macaulay Culkin, but how often do you see that? people always anthropomorphize toys. We don't need to do that anymore. Toy Story already did that to death. We already have Babes in Toyland. We already have dozens and dozens of animated versions of the Nutcracker. But anthropomorphizing books, that should be something you should think about animating. Or the regular house appliances, that's a great one, because, I mean, think of the very first, not so much the second or third, because they weren't as good, but the first Brave Little Toaster film. There's a lot of potential to anthropomorphizing, you know, a TV screen, a computer screen, a laptop, a toaster, a vacuum. Like, technology can somewhat have a sentience. You could make AI-powered, you know, home appliances that can think for themselves and make a movie about that. I mean, that's more, you know what I mean? Like, there's more to work with than just, okay, I'm gonna anthropomorphize a bunch of animals with fur. You know what I mean? Because furries have done that so much, the whole anthropomorphizing freaking mammals. And they make them incredibly sexy looking to the point where it's creepy. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's a kid's movie, but at the same time, it's like, okay, the female or male wolf characters, the male wolf characters have giant pecs and abs and biceps, and the females have hourglass waistlines and huge asses, huge thighs, and huge boobs. It's like, you know what, fuck all that. Do something more interesting. You could make really crazy anthropomorphic plants. You could make really crazy anthropomorphic bugs, and I mean, there's so many different mantises you could work with, and moths, and butterflies, and so many amazing spiders, not just tarantulas, but so many spiders. And the crustaceans, I mean, you could work with crabs, lobsters, mantis shrimps, so many different types of krill and shrimps. The sea anemone, even. You could anthropomorphize a clam or an oyster. You could anthropomorphize a rock. You could make a whole movie about different types of rocks. I'm not even kidding. Do you know how many different kinds of species of, you know, again, sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic rocks there are? Gemstones, different salt rocks, quartzites, crystals, the metallic ores. You could really work with that. And not in that boring, like, Steven Universe way where it's like, okay, it's a magical stone and then poof, it holograms itself into the shape of a person. That's boring, and that's more like Gem and the Holograms. What I am saying is get a rock and shape all the rocks like little people, like little rock people. You could CGI that or hand draw that. That would be so cool. Imagine a sandstone-shaped person, or a fool's gold-shaped person, or a peacock ore-shaped person. Or maybe it doesn't have to be shaped like a person. Maybe the peacock ore could be shaped like a peacock. And it's just peacock ore, but it acts like a peacock bird. I mean, there is so much more to work with, is all I'm saying. As artists, there is so much more to work with anthropomorphism other than the tried and true done to death anthropomorphism of foxes and dogs and cats and wolves. I mean, you have so much more to work with here. You really do. You know, I'm just telling you. You could anthropomorphize different DVD movies that are parodies of different famous films and change the names up a bit. And they're like little DVDs or little VHS tapes that come to life, and they have the personalities of different characters they're personifying inside of the movies. Or the books. I mean, they did it in PageMaster. You could anthropomorphize a book and create different personalities of those books based on the protagonists of the main characters of the book that the book is, you know, human-shaped but portraying, is all I'm saying. Why does everybody just anthropomorphize an animal only, a mammal with fur, for the furry fetishisms of whoever the fuck cares? There's so much more to work with. You could anthropomorphize chemicals. You could anthropomorphize atoms. You could anthropomorphize different planets. You could anthropomorphize different stars in space and make it an educational animation program too. You could have an Earth, you know, character. You could have a Mars character, a Venus, Mercury character. You could have Neptune, Pluto, the planetoid. You could have the moon and the sun, different stars in the Milky Way galaxy, different asteroids even, all shaped like human beings. The God's Eye Nebula, the Cat's Eye Nebula. I mean, even the wormholes and the black holes of space, even the cosmic strings. There is so much you could do in space that you could anthropomorphize. What if, like, the Cat's Eye Nebula was like a really cool space cat, and the God's Eye Nebula was like a friendly bearded guy that looked kind of like, not exactly identical to the Christian depiction of God, but is like a god. you know, give or take, okay, maybe like a Christian interpretation of God, or just you could make Mars be a red-headed woman or man, or you could make Earth be a man or woman with green and blue hair. You could make Venus a yellowish, orangish haired character. You could make Jupiter a really tall, strong person with bright, big red eyes. I mean, there's a lot to work with here. I mean, think of the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper. You could anthropomorphize the different star constellations too. Like, you could have the Big Dipper and Little Dipper be anthropomorphized, and the Ursa Major and the Ursa Minor. You could make them look like people in bear costumes, or you could just make them be regular bear animals. I mean, even the different, you know, again, even the different, you know, constellations that represent the different astrology signs. You could anthropomorphize like what the Aquarius constellation looks like, and Pisces and Cancer and Virgo. I'm just saying, there's a lot to work with here. Why does everybody just do the bottom of the barrel uncreative thing, generic, you know, teenager from DeviantArt.com idea of, okay, let's make a sexy wolf, let's make a sexy fox? No, fuck you. That is so uncreative. And you're not really doing it because you're being creative. You're doing what's marketable because you know millions of furries all over the world are going to buy movie tickets to go see Zootopia 2. That's why you do it. You're not doing it because you're creative. You're recycling the same shit over and over again because you know that the generic, recyclable, regurgitated, repetitive shit makes the money. But I think anthropomorphizing different crystals and rocks into the shape of people, or different parts of space, that's more fucking fascinating. Or insects. I mean, we only had one movie, like A Bug's Life, and nothing else ever happened again. We never had any more fun movies about bugs. We had Ant Bully, and then we had the Ants movie by DreamWorks. We never get any fun movies about bugs. We never get any fun movies about different rocks or crystals for geology. We hardly ever get any good animations about space, about our solar system, or everything outside of our solar system, our universe. And I mean, I don't get it. I mean, if you want to cater to children, but also be, you know, entertaining, but also educational, and make edutainment, or educational entertainment is what the two words merged mean, then do something else. I mean, how many times do people have to do an anthropomorphized wolf or fox? Once in a while, there's a cool character like Death from the Puss in Boots movie, and that's fine, but you don't, I mean, it's just, a lot of it is furry fodder, though. A lot of it is just, people want to obsess over the anthro characters that they're attracted to, or the human characters that they're attracted to. And that's the other thing. You don't have to make anime characters or furry characters outrageously ugly, but you don't have to overly sexualize them either. You could take the passive, I guess, like, tranquil Studio Ghibli approach, or even the Junji Ito approach, where you can make a character plain. You could do like what the artist did for Serial Experiments Lane, the anime and the manga. Just make your characters very plain looking. And that's what I don't understand, is like, many cartoonists, even unintentionally, they make their characters, female or male, have certain aesthetics to their appearance that seem hypersexualized. And a lot of people have been complaining, saying a lot of the cartoons they've made for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, even for millennials, in the later half of the 90s, as of late, so many kids' cartoons from my generation, Gen Y, or millennials, generation to Gen Z to Gen X. Well, not so much Gen X. From Gen Y, millennial, to Gen Z, to Gen Alpha, to Gen Beta, cartoons have been very hypersexualized. There are exceptions. Obviously, anthropomorphic stuff that's hyper clean, that has to be extremely safe for preschoolers, like Bluey, that is not necessarily the case. But PG-rated stuff, they slip a lot of shit in, and it's weird. I mean, they slip shit into, not necessarily Puss in Boots, but Zootopia, they slipped some stuff in, and it got weird. They slipped stuff into Sing by the Illumination Entertainment Company, and that got weird. They've been slipping stuff in for quite some time, and I mean, even the newer Grinch movies, Obviously not the Chuck Jones 1960s special How the Grinch Stole Christmas, obviously, but like as of recently, when I watched like the live action Jim Carrey Grinch movie, even the Benedict Cumberbatch animated Illumination Entertainment Grinch that I think was, when was that made, 2018 or so, those just felt really wrong. They felt really off, and the message didn't resonate the right way, like it was supposed to. Like it was supposed to with the Chuck Jones's How the Grinch Stole Christmas original special. And I mean, Chuck Jones is the man behind the newer and older Looney Tunes, mostly Sylvester and Tweety stuff, and he did, and again, Chuck Jones animated Tom and Jerry after Fred Quimby had passed away, and he also worked with Fritz Freeling on Pink Panther. But the thing was, anthropomorphic animals in the past, there was nothing sexual about them. You know what I mean? Like, they were just ordinary creatures. And there was nothing sexualized about the Pink Panther, or Foghorn Leghorn, or Tom and Jerry. They were just funny, cartoony animals, but there was nothing sexy about them. There was nothing that would draw any kind of, like, weird intrigue to the character. You know what I mean? And by all means, nobody intended, the seven old men at Disney that animated the Robin Hood movie, they had no intentions of people finding Maid Marian sexy or Robin Hood sexy. People just for some reason did, and it was odd. But I mean, kids' cartoons are getting more and more sexual because there's so many degenerate furry adults and even degenerate anime adults that just have gotten so weird about the Gooner stuff. And I mean, it's okay in adult, you know, in moderation is what I'm saying, to like stuff like that, but the fact that they're integrating the stuff that only adults should be looking at into YouTube Kids is a problem. You know, and the fact that so much AI generated, you know, animations on TikTok and YouTube for YouTube Kids, or the TikTok that's, you know, for kids only, they're getting a lot of dirty stuff into the kids' websites. And I mean, when I was a kid in the past, it wasn't as bad, I guess, because I mean, we had Habbo Hotel where people would say the N-word or say swear words, or maybe on Club Penguin people would say that and then they'd get banned right away, or maybe on Neopets all the swears would be blurbed out with little, you know, password star icons, star symbols for the swears. But I mean, when I was a kid on the internet, when I was playing stuff like Toontown Online, or on Neopets, or Club Penguin or something, it just wasn't that bad back then. I mean, you know what I mean? Like the 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, even after the Twin Towers had fallen, 2002, 2003, 2004 internet, there wasn't all this weird pornographic stuff all over the fucking place on the internet. It was so much cleaner. If I wanted to pirate, you know, some Full Metal Alchemist or something as a 15-year-old kid in 2006, I'd do that. And I would know from the names of some of the dirtier videos from like Frostware or LimeWire, like, ew, girl gets flogged or whatever. I'm not downloading that. I only want Full Metal Alchemist. And I would never see that stuff on accident. I usually knew better not to look at that stuff. And like one time when I was 10, the company PF Magic that does the pets games, PETZ, I would go to petz.com, but then I thought, okay, maybe I should look up the name of the company so that I can learn more about the game developers or the software developers behind the cats and dogs, you know, spelled all with a Z, software. So I typed in pfmagic.com as a 10-year-old kid. And then what showed up was pornfreakmagic.com, and then I saw something really nasty with a lady holding a man's penis up to her mouth, and I was a very dumb 10-year-old, so I said to my mom, why does that lady have a penis up to her mouth like it's a microphone? What is she doing? Is she trying to sing into his penis? And my mom fucking freaked out, and that was a fascinating thing. And my grandma used to watch dirty porn tapes in the living room, and I walked out and saw one once, and it was a doctor fucking a nurse in the middle of a hospital hallway when I was 10. That was after I accidentally saw the weird PF Magic website incident. But, you know, when I was a kid, I was just so fucking just naive and dumb as hell about anything having to do with XXX content. but Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I feel so bad for those kids because they've been so exposed to some of the nastiest, raunchiest shit. I hadn't seen bad stuff like that until I was maybe 15 or 16 years old when I saw Encyclopedia Dramatica and then a bunch of weird links to 4chan because I had some asshole high school friends that showed me that stuff, and then I started looking at a lot of it out of weird morbid curiosity of why are these people so screwed up, why are they like this, and then Kiwi Farms I saw years later. But when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, for the most part, I had seen mostly only clean internet. So I feel really bad that there's millions of YouTubers, complaining that are concerned parents, more or less, saying that, that the AI slop problem, like the brain rot problem, is worse than the Elsagate. Because there was, younger millennials that were in their later teens, like I was, complaining about the Elsagate thing, saying this is going to screw up Gen Z kids. We can't have pornographic cartoons, of Elsa and Spider-Man. But now they're more concerned with, the AI slop stuff because it's getting even creepier. Like, they're showing AI-generated images of, like Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters. And it's a shame because that is such a normal movie. I mean, just the regular Netflix film, or the sing-along where they just have little captions for the songs, which is fine, because lots of cartoons did that in the VHS days, Who didn't have a VHS copy of, Disney sing-along song home video, or some VHS DVD copies of VeggieTales sing-along song home videos where you could sing songs about God? But it's messed up that, like, such an innocent, you know what I mean? Like, an innocent kid's movie, animated by a giant studio of mostly Korean women only, that took 7 years to make, that had sort of an anime style, but also a Disney Renaissance art style. And it's a more positive, I would say, outcome of K-pop, And I'm not a big K-pop fan, but seeing the K-pop Demon Hunters movie, it looks a bit like a 3D version of a Disney Renaissance movie, somewhat, with some slight anime effects, anime aesthetics, mixed with some Disney aesthetics. But it's bothersome that there's people that did AI-generated creepy garbage stuff with Rumi. Like, they show her falling asleep in a bed once, like an animation of Rumi falling asleep. Then there's like a weird worm that crawls into her mouth, and then it goes down her throat, and then it's like a tapeworm. And then she starts eating lots and lots of food, and she's hungry all the time, and then it shows the worm inside her large intestine, like in her colon, in like a creepy x-ray animation. And then it shows Rumi getting fatter and fatter, and it's like a weird fat fetish thing. And then she takes some medicine, and then she's on the toilet, and it shows her pooping, and then, obviously, lo and behold, the tapeworm's not in her body anymore, and then she's skinny and attractive again. And it's like, this whole thing is, like, really weird. It's like they're trying to do things that kind of sort of allude to a hentai. It's really creepy. And they're doing the same things with, like, Cappuccina Ballerina, the Italian brain rot character that I guess Gen Alpha kids in Italy like. Where she looks like a normal, cute, ballerina character with, like, a espresso or cappuccino cup of coffee for a face, with, like, doll character kind of features on her porcelain cup, face. And at first you think, okay, this is just going to be something regular and ordinary. And then there's all this weird stuff going on. Like, it shows her boyfriend, who's some kind of churro donut-looking guy, cheating on her with another woman that has a teacup or coffee mug face, and then she's crying. And then she runs away from home with her baby, and it's showing all these, like, adult issues, like, adultery, infidelity, like spouses cheating on each other. But it's like, why would you make that for kids? Like, how is a child to understand that? And they did the same thing with Mickey and Minnie and Elsa and Spider-Man for the Gen Z kids too. They were showing, like, Elsa married to Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man cheats on Elsa with some other Disney princess character, and then, like, Elsa's crying and she's pregnant. She gives birth to her baby by herself in the hospital. She runs away home crying, and she divorces Spider-Man. It's like, you don't need to show these messed up domestic problems to kids, because how are they gonna wrap their minds around that? I mean, obviously, yes, there are kids that do, as a matter of fact, like, have divorced parents, and I'm not saying they don't. I just, it bothers me that they make it so almost like netorare kind of, or love affair hentai, or the love affair pornography that adults like. I think they call it cuckold porn, or the cheating on your spouse porn, whatever the fuck you call it. Believe it or not, there's probably different animated cartoon or anime things that are X-rated, and filmed things that are X-rated that are genres I've never even heard of, I'm sure, because, you know, everything has some kind of triple X version of it. But it's weird that they're putting it on children's internet platforms, because when I was a kid, stuff was more regulated and moderated. It seemed like the administrators of kid sites, when I was a kid, cared a whole lot more. And I mean, the same can be said for, like, Roblox, you know? I'm not saying there probably wasn't times there was kids talking to creepy adults on Neopets. Maybe those, you know, groomers and pedos did exist. I'm not saying they didn't exist. I'm sure the PDFs that were targeting kids in the 90s on the internet, you know, I'm sure it did happen, but my generation was taught stranger danger when the internet first came out. We were taught not to tell people our first and last name, our phone number, our home address. Always use a username that sounds entirely different from your real name. Don't put your real name and your email address, or if you do have your real name as an email address, keep that email address private and only use it for job applications and things like that. But it seems like, I'm not even sure how to elaborate on this, but it seems like Gen Z and Gen Alpha and Gen Beta are not being taught internet safety at all. When the internet first came out for the millennial kids, the Gen X parents, or the millennial kids with baby boomer parents, they seem to have taught kids the stranger danger thing a lot better. But with the fact that the Roblox game devs have done absolutely nothing in regards to the PDF creeps or sex offenders, or offenders, I'll just say. The predators or PDFs or offenders on Roblox, and they're also harassing other adults as well. If it's not people predatoring on kids, it's people predatoring on other adults, but nobody is doing internet safety anymore. Nobody is like, okay, we need to use fake names. Okay, we need to not tell people our gender, our age, or where we live. Because it was always people doing the ASL thing, age, sex, location. I always said, no, no, and no. You're not going to know my gender, you're not going to know where I live, and you're not going to know my location. When I was 10 years old, I didn't play that shit. I didn't go along with that shit. I was like, no thanks, I'm not talking to a creepy stranger like that. But it does bother me, though, that the game developers of Roblox have done absolutely nothing for the safety of, you know, kids using the game. I have decided, and I've never played Roblox before. I did download it once for Windows 10 to see if I should play it. I logged in with my Xbox account. I think I made an account, but I didn't start a game. But as I started reading more and more articles about how bad Roblox has gotten, I decided not to play it. Because it's not safe to play. I mean, maybe it's slightly safer on console. I mean, maybe if you put, maybe, and I do mean maybe, there may be a possibility of maybe playing Roblox on an Xbox or a PlayStation. You're at less of a risk, but when it comes to your computer or your phone, it's concerning, because that could cause somebody, I don't want to say they might hack into your computer or smartphone and spy on you, or that there would be a spyware issue. But, I mean, I feel bad for kids that like Roblox, because I'm sure there are kids that are taught by their parents. I do have some faith that some people, even kids, are smart enough to know not to put themselves in harm's way when it comes to Roblox. But what concerns me is that there are so many kids that have been groomed or have been harmed by people on Roblox. There have been, and I'm not, it's not even a joke, but there have been so many lawsuits against the Roblox company. The game devs of Roblox have had 600,000 or more, I'm not even kidding, 600,000 lawsuits filed against them. The entire state of Florida, the entire state of Louisiana, and a few other states have filed a ban and a lawsuit against Roblox, and have the state of Florida and the state of Louisiana has made it against the law for any human being under the age of 18 that is a minor to get on Roblox.com. And even so, even people 18 and above are at risk of being manipulated by somebody very disturbed on the internet. I guess I have a hard time understanding how it came to this, I guess, is my problem, because how is it that things online with online games have gotten this bad? How is it because of the overpopulation of too many people on the internet, or is it the fact that people have gotten careless with the security, I would say, of parental controls and making internet safer for kids? I mean, don't get me wrong. Gen Y millennials and Gen Z, they saw some pretty screwed up stuff on the internet, but it seems like Gen Alpha is getting the worst of the worst. The Alpha and the Beta kids, they're getting it way worse because they are all very unsafe on Roblox, and they are on the kid TikTok platforms and the YouTube Kids platforms, and those platforms were somewhat stabilized, but because of AI, they've gotten less safe. And the fact that there's only bots moderating YouTube Kids and not actual human beings that actually know the difference between what is safe and not safe for kids content. I just find it bothersome that people are just, I'm not sure. I just find it bothersome that nobody is making safer, platforms for younger audiences. And it's unfortunate. I'll be right back. Evangelion is just emo. So the difference, though, is the Gundam kids handled their trauma better. That's fine. Not everyone can handle their trauma that well. And I get that. However, there's a lot of characters in the Gundam series that can't handle the trauma that well. But again, hate to say it, but Gundam did it first. Without Mobile Suit Gundam of 1979 to 1983. buy the usual tea or buy something else. Where's my game? I guess I'll have to display my monitor.